Hi, welcome back to 2000 Pack.
Now, if you don't remember, I was sitting almost in this exact same position with electric dreams, and we did a very similar video.
Mhm.
But today is another 1 year update. There are a couple new iterations in these pads, and we'll talk about each of the features and how we feel about riding them over the last year.
So today we have the Kai pad here, the Clark pad, Kinetic, and Grizzla.
Let's get into each one.
Okay, the first set of pads we're gonna talk about is the Kai pad.
So we've used these predominantly last year for a very long
Mhm.
period of time, and they were on your original master with a different color combination.
Yes.
What do you think about these?
And it's very interesting that you can choose the insert. There is two type of insert, right? A softer one and a harder one. So with the harder one, it's harder for you to flex it. But with the softer one, it's easier and it's better in trails. That's how I feel like.
Now, this design is kind of unique in the way that there is a split in the pad. This allows you to move relative to the Velcro surface that's on your wheel, which will give you that little sense of comfort and flexibility. Now, the downsides that we saw from these set of pads was that because all the flex and pressure points come down this one spot right here, over the course of 6 months to a year, we've noticed that some of our pads have started to tear. And that's purely just based on the rider and how they use the pads and how much they flex. Another thing that we noticed was that if you were to cut the pads, being that the flex creates a force that kind of goes outwards from the wheel, what happens is it actually rips the Velcro from the pad off the wheel. And therefore, we found that a lot of our riders were having issues keeping the Kai pads stuck on their wheel. And even some, like John Kim, resorted to bolting the pad onto their bearings. So, although they enjoyed the flex part, I think when you pull this flex, it yanks on this bottom corner, and the bottom corner will come outwards, which pulls it off the wheel. And this creates a little bit of a security concern where you can't build that confidence that you like. Also, on braking, we've noticed that a lot of people on the braking side of things didn't actually enjoy to have that flex because it didn't allow them to pull backwards confidently on the wheel. So we've noticed a lot of our riders actually taking this back pad and flipping it around so that it removes the flex and gives them that solid base to brake on.
Here, right here. It is
4 inches.
4 inches.
You got 4 inches in the narrow section.
Top, let's see. Around
6.5, maybe.
that's
6.5 inches in the top. And are you able to measure from here to the bottom?
that is around 10
10
inches.
inches.
And the back one is around 7 inches.
Okay.
I am one of those riders that like big pads. I like to feel secure, so I love the bottom part to touch the top of my toe, and the top part to be close to my knee. But if I have longer legs, then that won't give me that security that I want.
Also, keep in mind that these are version 1s and version 2s are coming soon. The version 2s do have ridges at the bottom here so that it kind of grips your foot better when you're lifting and has a bit of a more designed elements on the inside, and that's coming soon.
Now we have the Clark pads, the Biopad.
So these are the newest iteration that Christopher Clark has come out with, and these are the C3 Biopads, which a lot of people have been raving about. Now, at the time of purchase, these were the only pads that were available. The Kong edition, which is scaled up edition of this, wasn't available at the time. Now, with this pad, it is designed to be split or not split. However, we found very quickly that when it's not split, it's not very usable because this gap here is so small that it barely fits my arm.
Can you show? Hold on.
So this gap was actually really good for Christine's leg.
Without
However,
gear.
she wasn't wearing any gear. And as soon as she put on Liats or pants, armored pants, she could not fit in the gap anymore. Therefore, we had to cut them and split them. Another thing was that the unique portion of this design is the fact that when you push along the power pad, the outer edge will actually come inwards to hug your leg. And this design does work quite well. However, I have to say that if you do ride bare-legged, because of the print quality is not the greatest, your skin does get irritated over time. And I actually had to cut off this CP logo because it would scratch the side of my leg.
Even if you're wearing Leots, it still scratches the side of your legs.
So when I put these on my wheel, typically I'll put a layer of duct tape on top just so that I don't get scratched by the CP logo. I'm not sure why he chose to put it there. Now, since it's too narrow when it's together, we had cut them to split them. After we cut them to split them, I even tried to retain as much of the surface area as I could. And when putting them on the wheel, the Velcro just couldn't stick that well.
And you could see from the Velcro at the back, the hook isn't as long. Oh, it can't, even when you feel with your hand, it just feels pretty smooth. You can't really feel the hook itself.
So if you do get these pads, do make sure you replace that Velcro. Otherwise, if you use it as a single pad, it is adequate. But once you split them, the Velcro adhesion limitation is there.
This is, let's see, 3 inches in the bottom. And the top is, let's say 5 inches.
5 inches at the top.
The height, bottom is 8 inches. Back is, say 5.5 close to.
And that brings us to the Nylonove Kinetic 2.0s. Now, there are the 1.0s and there are the 2.0s. The only main difference being the connecting pieces. The 2.0s have a much more secure connecting method, which means that they won't pop out just from pulling them off your wheel. And this is a huge benefit to how the pads operate in daily life.
Isn't it pretty? As a lady, I got to pick whatever color I want on any piece, even the kinetic piece.
Nylonove does a really, really great job being able to really customize the colors options that have available for these pads as well as the connecting pieces. And that really makes the world your oyster. There's a lot of different colors.
Your own.
They also offer the lights. So these ones actually have the lights built in, and for braking lights on the back, on the top and the bottom. And then you can charge them through the charge port at the top. Now, in my testing, I found that I never used them. And part of the reason why I never used them was the fact that depending on the color options that you buy, those lights are more or less effective. And the actual visibility to other road users is not as great. So it's a little bit more of just a party piece. To add on top of that, when I go to charge my wheel, I already had to charge my headlight, I got to charge my comms, I got to charge so many more devices. And having more micro USB cables,
one on each end,
or USB-C cables wired to where my wheel charges is not that practical. And having to rip off the pads every time I want to charge it is not something I will do, because putting the pads back in the same place is a little bit of an art.
People might say you can charge it while the pad is on the wheel, but still, just a lot of work.
But the real difference between the Kinetic pads and the pads that we previously showed you is the print quality. So you can see here that the print quality is really, really good. It's really clean with no burrs and a very smooth surface, which means there's no irritation when it comes to using this on bare skin.
It's really soft and it feels good like touching it.
Yeah. Another thing too is the surface texture is soft. So you can see me squeezing it right now. This softness, what it corresponds to is a little bit of flexibility when you're using it. But most importantly, it is the ability to use it without having to wear gear. And I'm not saying that it's good to not wear gear, but on those short trips where you're just having your bare skin on these pads, you won't feel any pain or irritation from the pads.
And when you feel the bottom part, the jump pad, is actually more stiffer than the upper part. So they did use two different. Is it maybe the print style? I'm not sure. I don't know how it looks printed, but you do feel the difference in it. So it gives you confidence to use it to jump.
Yeah, actually, the top part is super soft, the middle part is semi firm, and the bottom part is really firm. This gives you that really good jumping surface or toe lift surface while maintaining the soft part that touches your shin. And this is what I call the R&D that you're paying for when you buy high quality power pads.
And I like how I can just adjust it the way I want. Sometimes I want the top part to be more forward so that I can lean a little bit more because I don't have the weight to push the wheel. So I do need power pad that helps me. And I like to be uh, feel secured. I like touching the jump pad. So by having this pad that is that big and that long, the bigger mom who doesn't want it, right? I like it.
Another thing that most people do not put a lot of attention to, and this is something that really separates the premium power pad from the print at home style power pad, is Nylonove and Grizzla do spend a lot of effort sourcing really good Velcro. And so at no point have we ever had issues with this Velcro coming off the pad, nor do we have issue with the pad coming off the wheel.
The back part. It is oops, close to 9 inches of the braking pad. And the front, it really depends on the rider. So I will just do the way I like. From the bottom to the top, it's around 9.5 inches. If you want more acceleration, more than it could go up to 8.5 inches. That was a maximum. Last but not the least, we have the Grizzla. This one looks, take a closer look at it. It's gone through quite a bit because Albert has been using it for a long, long time.
Over a year, I've been using it on a Master Pro that requires a lot of pads. And I've done trails, I've dropped my wheel many times, so this has been through the ringer. You can see there's even missing pieces.
But still looks pretty good. I don't really see much damage other than the bottom part.
Now, the Grizzlies have a lot of really good features that you may not notice right off the bat. First notable things are the reflectors that you can buy as an add-on. This provides better nighttime visibility. You have this locking mechanism that allows you to lock the angle into what you desired. And there is quite a lot of adjustability in terms of the minimum to the maximum. Another small thing that maybe people don't notice is there is this little notch. And this notch is found on both the front and the back pads. And this actually allows you to place a puzzle piece on your wheel with Velcro. So if you want to share, if you can only buy one pad, but you have multiple wheels and you want to share that one pad with multiple wheels, you can actually put these puzzle pieces on both your wheels. And that way, when you set the pads on to either one of them, it's always going to be set in the perfect position that you want, because this one will be locked to the angle that you want. And therefore, you can just place and remove this pad on that wheel with confidence. Another thing is this one, compared to the Kinetic, doesn't have that extra adjustability. However, I've never felt the need to have that extra piece. I felt that this curvature was exactly perfect for me. I've never had an issue with it. Another thing is, if you look, the top pad sticks out a little bit further than the middle pad, and this is for ease of seated riding. So there are a lot of features that you may not notice that they put in here, and all of those small things add up to a really, really great power pad. You do get this extra rigidity for the jump pad, and you do get the little teeth to grip your shoes while you're jumping for more security.
Yeah. What about these little holes? What do they use for? I don't know.
For you to grab the power pad.
Tear it up.
or tearing it off.
Ah.
So Alec and Camille and Grizzla spend a lot of their time and energy and sweat and tears and blood trying to provide us with the best accessories that we can buy and spend our money on for our performance wheels. And I have to say, they may not get the full appreciation from the community and for their efforts. And there are a lot of people copying the Grizzlas and providing these cult 3D files or these home brew. But again, like if I haven't said it enough, with the Kinetics and the Grizzlas, the money that you pay for is the print quality. It's not just the physical shape of the pad.
Yeah.
And getting that print quality, print texture, print feel just right takes a lot of time and effort. And that's what they spend a lot of their blood, sweat, and tears on.
All right, let's start with the breaking pad first. It is around 7.5 inches with maximum flex. Let's go. It is around 8 inches. Normal, a little bit taller. It's around 9 to 9.5 inches. Okay.
Alec and Camille are really thinking day and night about how to improve our experience with the power pads and what can our power pads bring us beyond just a power pad. And this is where your R&D money really contributes to their efforts. And I will show you the newest thing that's coming soon. So, not only have they designed the ability to mount securely taillights, headlights, and other light modules onto your wheel, they've also developed GoPro mount that you can mount cameras to record your favorite rides. And they are actually going to be released at Thingiverse, open source to the community. They will provide the base file that provides the attachment to the pad. And any 3D print designer can design an attachment for any accessory that you guys may want. And to me, it shows the true commitment of Alec and Camille to this community and what they want to provide to us.
Is it hard to install all these accessories on it?
No, it's actually quite easy.
What tool is needed?
So all you need is a 2.5 millimeter screw, which you can get from a hardware store, as well as the nuts that attach to it. And you'll secure it in, and it is 100% secured. Like, you really have to yank super hard, and it still won't come out. So therefore, you can mount for your $500 GoPro or your expensive lights to it. And in our EX30 video, we talked about how Begode kind of had a missed opportunity with their headlight and how it doesn't spray into the trails wide enough.
Yes.
This is the solution. So these mounts, actually, you can get it, if you mount it a different way, has angle to it. And so you can point these lights into the corners to give you that excess lighting ability. So now that we've looked at the details of all these different pads, you may be wondering, well, which pad should you get? So these pads are actually laid out from the most affordable to the most, these Kinetics and Grizzlas are the most expensive. The Kai pads start at $145 US. The Clark pads are $169 for the C3 Biopads. And then if you want the Kongs, which are the bigger ones, they're $199. The Kinetics and Grizzlas are around the $200 mark starting. There are a little bit of modifications and additions that you can add to them. And so the price will vary based on your choices, but they do start around the $200 mark. So the Kai pads are a very good budget entry. If you're riding a non-suspension wheel, the flexibility of the pad prevents your shins from getting bashed by the power pads with every bump in the road. Or if you're riding in trails with a non-suspension wheel, the Kai pads were a dream. Now, if you're riding a suspension wheel, the benefits of the Flex is not as great. And so I would start to look at these options here. In what scenarios do you think that you would choose the Clark pads?
I think it's only for normal trail riding or even in a racetrack. Actually, we did use it in Intro to Speed a couple of times.
So the only thing that again you got to be careful is the Velcro that they put on it is not that greatest.
Mhm.
So if you are to want to use this for more high performance uses and you want to be able to split the pad because it's too narrow for your feet, I would suggest ripping off the Velcro that is provided with it and replacing it with a better Velcro. When I did use it Intro to Speed, it did come off a couple times, and so it was really hard to trust the pad. It also fell off in trails. The design is fairly nice, but the quality doesn't compare with the Grizzla and Kinetic. Now, when we come to the Kinetic pads, this is actually one of Christine's favorite pads. And you have to understand that the print quality of the Grizzla and the Kinetics are where they set them apart from the regular 3D printed pads. Both Nylonove and Alec from Grizzla spend a lot of time and energy looking for and developing and testing the TPU that they use, as well as their printing methods. And so what you end up with is a pad that is very, very good quality and is much more worth the bang for the buck. Now, the biggest difference between them is the flexibility. So the Kinetics have a little bit more flexibility due to the two adjustment points, as well as the material having a bit more flex. So if you enjoy to have that flex but security, the Kinetics are there. But if you prefer to have the more rigid power pad, where you have a little bit of flex, but it's there so you can comfortably explore those limits and really push hard on them, the Grizzlas are where you'll find that comfort. Now, Grizzla does take it that step up, where they're releasing their accessories line, and they have designed a lot of really good features within their pads in case you want to share one pad through multiple wheels. Please do and go support these manufacturers because they are pouring a lot of their heart and soul into these pads for us to have a better riding experience. Which one's your favorite one?
It's hard.
Somewhere in this corner?
Somewhere.
With Kinetics?
It's hard. I like this and I like that.
Okay, we'll make it a tie. Make it a tie between the Kinetics and the Grizzlas.
It also depends on what types of riding I'm doing. But again, not everyone would have two sets of pads, right? Because of the pricing. And then if I have to pick only one, I will go with Grizzlas. Sorry, Kinetic. You know.
For me, I think I've been riding this personal set of pads for the last year. And even in my Northwest Electric Fest race, I use the Grizzla pads because the security of them and being able to just trust them is paramount. And the added flexibility of the Kinetic pads is a great feature for trails. But I find that as a rider, I can kind of flex my legs within the Grizzla power pads and not needing the power pad themselves to flex.
Yeah.
So the Grizzlas are my choice. Let us know in the comments below what pads you use, what pads have you used, and what pads you like best.
Alright, that's the end. If you like the video, please give a thumbs up and subscribe. You may also turn on your ding dong ding dong to receive notification of our latest content.